She likes what she likes, and she could put it all on you, baby. If you bout that life, because you don't got time to choose it.
Hey tribe, it's Kia from Heritage 93, and right now I want to let you guys know about the nail growth. Looking good here, but left hand thumb has a shallow split that has been growing out nicely. In fact, both thumbs are looking pretty good overall. It was a long fight. But my right hand has been going through some things. We'll get into this crinkly band-aid later, but we're here today to get into this right ring finger split. It was a minor tear that I swore I'd be able to get to later. Well, it's later and a little worse, now having cracked halfway into the tender skin. Now, although this nail break isn't as bad as they used to be, I'm realizing that I've been trying to find a fix for nail breaks for a while now, like the last 5 years. In 2018, we had to deal with a clean pinky break. In 2017, I tried using plastic wrap to mend a complete thumb shamble. A little further back in 2016, I was all in with the super glue. Skipping forward to 2019, I even broke my plaster pinky's nail completely off and could only find Gorilla Glue to fix it. And then, of course, we have last year sharing a series of the absolute worst nail breaks I've ever had on my longest natural nails yet, including double thumb trouble, an unsalvaged middle finger, and right ring finger on joke time yet again. Of course, eventually it all got fixed with the silk wrap and then painted beautifully a few days later, but after all of that hard work, the girls went right on back to Shamblesville. But we will not get into any more of that today. All in all, the girls have come a long way in the last 5 years of trying to fix a bad nail break, but when it comes to a permanent fix, I think we got it for good. Let's get started, fingers crossed. Now that the clear polish has been completely removed, I'll be using my trusty nail glue to give this split its first sealing. Now, this step is nothing new, but the key with this first glue sealing is to pry that nail crack open so that the glue can directly bond to both open edges that make the split together. And then press firmly for about 15 seconds to seal it shut. Afterwards, your seal should look something like this, so we'll wait a few minutes and let it dry. Okay, now that the seal is dry to the touch, we shall buff it flush with my old buffer. I found the buffers for natural nails get better with time, offering a softer and more natural looking buff that is more gentle since a lot of its rougher surface has been flaked away. So now we have a smooth surface that won't look lumpy as we add layers of the next step, which is clear dip powder. This one came in a full dip powder kit that I picked up once upon a time because a friend tagged me in an ad. So we'll be using the base, activator, and top coat from this kit as well. Alright, come closer. And a little bit closer, focusing back on the ring finger, we will uncap that clear dipping powder and set it to the side. Now we want to grab step 1, the base, and evenly apply it onto the softly buffed nail. Then immediately after, dipping the wet nail into the whole jar of clear dip powder. I found that it's easier to dip longer nails at a curve than at a straight angle. Also, double dipping the powder while only having the one base coat is super helpful, especially when we have a lot of base and it sweats through the first layer of powder. Now, notice how we have 2 good layers, yeah? This is important and the only thing I want you to take away from this nail fixing attempt here. We'll see in a second why. In the meantime, we're gonna go right ahead to step 2, the activator, which binds and hardens those 2 soft powdery layers. And then once those layers have dried, we will buff again with the now soft buffer to make the rough layer super smooth. Ah yes, now it's time for my favorite part, the top coat. I really like this step because it dries fast and it has a really nice shine. So here's the final fix, where 2 coats of the powder plus 1 layer of the top coat makes for a super natural look. This is so important to note for later. 2 coats of dip and 1 layer of the top coat clear step. So yeah, I remember someone asking about using acrylic dip powder alone as a shortcut to fixing a nail break like this. And so for a long-term solution, my answer is I absolutely do not recommend you use dip powder alone to fix a bad nail break. Honestly, this fix didn't even last 48 hours before I itched my leg and felt the nail tear like glass-lined paper, whatever that is. Okay, so now the crack is more like a deep nail fissure with about 90% of the nail on its last leg. But since we're still filming to settle this nail problem once and for all, we gotta keep going. I found that this dip layer is good, but more so for sealing and protecting whatever is underneath of it. But it still needs a stronger layer beneath it to make this nail mend actually work long term. Okay, so now we gotta soak this layer off. I'm grabbing a big plastic bowl and filling it with just under boiling hot water. And then I'm grabbing some 100% pure acetone and pouring it into a smaller glass bowl. Unfortunately, acetone is so drying to natural nails, but we'll do what we gotta do. AKA placing the glass bowl into the larger hot plastic bowl so that the acetone is safely heated. This hot soak acetone method basically turns all of the dip powder enhancement into goop that we can completely remove within 6 to 10 minutes. Okay, now that that's over, let's try this again. Now, this nail is all the way at stake, but I think we got it this time. So, add your glue to the crack and pressure seal like normal, but this time grab the Majestic Silk Wrap and apply it to your glue sealed nail. Sometimes I don't let the glue dry before applying the silk wrap, and that lets the glue seep through, which is also fine. Then I'm using sharp curved scissors to get the closest fit cut. Then applying some pressure to smooth the wrap down and then lay on the brush on glue from there. The brush on glue is important because it activates the silk wrap. Then after that, we want to paint on the undersides to seal the split from there as well. Now to clean up the crunchy and frazzled edges from the silk wrap on my nails, we're going in with the glass file. But then I noticed that my nail was kind of crooked, so I went ahead and evened it out a bit as best I could so that it looks a little better. See? Now again, we want to buff the silk wrapped and glue layer smooth. Alright, and now we're going to repeat the dip powder process again since we've added the strength of the silk wrap. But disclaimer, this time I was so much more cautious about the 90% nail break and added a lot more layers to this nail fix. Here I'm going into this with hindsight so that you can have a successful nail fix on your very next try. Here I applied the first layer of base and then the double dip again, but then I went back over it with another layer of base to dip in an additional 1, 2, 3 layers of dip for a total of 5 layers. So technically I just sealed the reinforcing layer 5 times over, which is actually overkill. What I thought I was doing was making the fix 5 times stronger, which wasn't the case since the 1 layer of silk wrap is the source of the strength and reinforcement. Okay, but since we're here, we have to activate the layers, which looked cool from the outside of those 5 layers, but notice how the layers are so thick that I have to tap the activator on to help cure the dip. We can see how bulky the nail is getting now. Okay, so at this point we are not giving up. So I grabbed a nail drill to try to thin this dip nail out just a bit. And honestly, I'm just seeing what will happen at this point, and I'm really glad I did. Here's another reason to use 2 to 3 double dip layers. As I was e-filing, the inner layers of the dip layer hadn't been activated. So when I e-filed over it, it was kind of soft, kind of like the inside of an uncooked cake. The deception. Now I'll add a little bit more activator to the semi-soft powder to harden it, and then buff it all smooth once more. Now that the tedious tasks are done, I'll apply the dashing top coat, but again, this time it was a little bit overkill because instead of applying 1 coat like the first time, I applied 2 coats, and I learned it doesn't really make much of a difference, and again, it's overkill. But it's okay because it still hardens beautifully, and once it does, your nail fix efforts are looking good. Again, this could have been a little bit more undetectable if I was double dipping over 1 coat of base, activating that, and then following that with 1 layer of the top coat. But it's okay because all of that trouble allows us to see why all those little things matter, and honestly for me, that's really all that matters. Okay, but we still need to see what the long-term results are, which will take another 2.5 months, but you know I got you. So yeah, the seal held on to eventually allow the 90% break to grow out into the white free edge. And once my natural nail grew out a little bit longer, I decided it was time to remove the wrap, the glue, everything with the same hot bowl acetone method we saw earlier in this video. See, it all comes full circle. But I was actually really surprised because although the dip powder and the silk wrap layers came off relatively easy, that glue in between the crack was not budging anywhere, like acetone who? Unbothered. So then I just had to go in with a nail to glass combat, but look at this, it's really not budging. I literally had to saw off the now grown out split by hand, which, not gonna lie, was really satisfying after all that time and effort. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is how I was able to fix a bad nail break and restore the natural nail back to its former glory. Now, to recap, we want to glue the break, apply a little pressure to seal, apply and fit a silk wrap, very important, glue it all together, giving it a nice little buff, apply step 1 of your dip powder, double dipping because that's really all you need, and then activate it with step 2. Note that mine's a little bulky because 5 layers, but for you, it should look something like this by the time you add your step 3 top coat. While your natural nail is growing out, you'll be able to paint, remove your nail polish, shower, work, clean, lift stuff. You don't have much to worry about as your natural nail grows out with this fix. Take it from me. And once your nail fix has finally grown out in a few months, you can just soak it off to reveal the new happy nail so that you can continue your nail growth journey with a whole new kind of nail care confidence like none of this ever happened. So yes, I hope you all enjoyed this. Yes, it took 5 years, but this is my best answer yet type tutorial and found this nail mending method helpful and inspiring for your natural nail mending needs. As always, thank you so much for watching and engaging. Take very good care and happy nail growing. I will see you again very soon in the next one.
Forever and ever.